Hey, good evening, everybody. Going to talk more about these first alert weather days. They're not your typical severe weather threats. This is going to be a pattern setting up. I've added Saturday now as our first alert weather day because I think Saturday may actually be more intense than tomorrow. In fact, the model guidance says so. So we'll look at that here coming up in just a second. But what we're looking at is a classic setup for June. Usually at some point in June, sometimes it's early June, sometimes it's late June, we get in this northwest flow pattern. That means the upper level winds are out of the northwest. So we get disturbances that ride through. They trigger strong to severe storms in a big complex. So it's not like your isolated supercell threat with tornadoes. That's not what we're looking at. We're looking at clusters of storms that'll come through. They'll be intense for about an hour. You may have an hour or two of inconvenience, they'll call it, with intense weather. And then they're out of here. And then another round will come in about 6 to 12 hours later. So they're hard to time out. But here is the latest in regards to the complex of storms for Friday. Now, Saturday's probably going to move through faster. Saturday's winds will probably be stronger. But very intense lightning, very heavy rain, damaging winds. You get a shelf cloud that probably goes the entire length of this line as it moves in. Now it looks a little bit ragged tomorrow, but I think tomorrow we have a little more instability than we'll see on Saturday. So that would be the only concern, I guess, for this more intense weather coming in. But overall, it's going to be really muggy out there ahead of these storms. So 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. in red, and that basically covers the western portion of the Huntsville metro area, down to Moulton, over to Russellville, and up to Florence, and farther east, roughly 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. Your evening looks okay, but here's that weekend. Again, we've gone with first alert weather day for Saturday. I was going to just have one day kind of make it for the rest of it because I really don't want to get into this situation in the summer where every day is a first alert weather day because like I've said in the past, we're already over alerted and over warned in every bit of weather everywhere across the country lately. Everything has to have a name, it seems like. But again, want to make sure we get your attention. First alert weather day, Friday and Saturday. So if you're camping, you're doing outdoor plans, just stay weather alert to changing weather conditions because these storms will be intense tomorrow and then intense again Saturday and probably another complex coming in as we get into Sunday. Very quiet out there now, but a very warm summer-like atmosphere tonight, 77 degrees. And as expected, the storm activity we had out west faded away quickly. Big things going on out in Texas and parts of Oklahoma, southwest Kansas, lots of hail, some bigger tornadoes too there in Texas today. Those will not be moving through here. I want to make sure I make that very clear. The disturbance that kicked that off is riding through tomorrow afternoon, but it's not a storm system coming in. These are upper air disturbances moving in, and they do different things. So those storms that you may see that monster tornado out in Texas tonight, that storm it'll be gone. By sunrise tomorrow, that storm will no longer exist. In fact, it's probably fading away now. I am not watching their weather, though. But here's 7:30 tomorrow morning. Very warm, very muggy. It gets hot. Look at these temperatures around 91. The model guidance is trying to put up these pop-up showers and storms, but these very rarely develop because the atmosphere is going to be capped. So we wait for that complex to start developing. And I think this gives us a good look at maybe 2 to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. These storms start firing up. This complex develops and starts to drop to the southeast. That's around 5 o'clock. Some of you getting off work 5 o'clock on a Friday. You're going to have to deal with some of these strong storms. Then those go away. And this is where every model run is going to be different and a challenge for us to try to pinpoint exactly what's going to happen. Because this particular model says another round's coming in after 10 o'clock. I'd give that a 20% chance of happening. The concern here is with Saturday, and you'll see why in a second. Saturday morning starts off fine. There's probably some car shows, garage sales going on out there. But as we get towards the noon hour, fairly stout line coming in. And anytime you get purple showing up in the model guidance, that's when you know you're dealing with some pretty intense rainfall rates. And with this line, this is going to come through roughly between noon and 4 o'clock Saturday. It's going to pack a punch, may get some isolated power outages, isolated damaging winds. That rolls through, And notice by 2, 3 o'clock, it's moving east of the Huntsville metro area, but very intense here in northeast Alabama. And then by 5 o'clock, that's gone. But don't be surprised if another round develops Saturday night, you see after 10:30, through the overnight hours with very intense rain, strong gusty winds. So first alert weather days now Friday and Saturday for the same reason. Complexes of storms. I don't see a tornado threat. We usually don't get tornadoes with this setup, but the way things have gone this year, seems like people are seeing tornadoes everywhere. So if there was one, it would be a spin up and probably produce the same amount of damage as straight line wind. I'm going to take a break here and then I will be right back. All right, once again to summarize, strong and potentially severe storms, these complexes of storms, summertime storms, intense, coming through tomorrow afternoon, roughly between 2 p.m. and 6 p.m., and then Saturday, roughly between noon and 4:30. So what we're going to deal with each and every day, probably through Monday or Tuesday, is at some point in time during the afternoon, a complex of storms will form west of us, northwest, and track east-southeast. And all along it, you're going to get a black sky, you're going to get low clouds, probably going to get these look-alike funnel clouds ahead of it. So we'll have to watch all those again and kind of confirm reports as it comes through. But at the end of the day, we're looking at isolated damaging winds, very heavy rain, and a lot of lightning. So those are your main threats as we go through on the next 3 or 4 days. So here's your rainfall chances. They're fairly high. Some of you are going to see 3 inches of rain through Monday. Very intense rainfall rates. First alert weather day Friday and Saturday. And I think by Sunday we're not going to continue that because you're going to get the point. The whole point of these first alert weather days is when we have a big change to the weather or it's going to have a big impact and reason for you to check in because we realize in today's society, everybody's so busy. There's so many things going on, and not as many people are actually tuning in every night to watch on a regular broadcast of our newscast or the weather. So we want to make sure we kind of put that out there. It doesn't necessarily mean everyone's going to get severe weather. It's not the end of the world. It's not a high-end threat. It is typical for this time of year for us to get these kind of storms. So nothing's changed in the atmosphere to make these more intense. So again, typical June weather pattern, and it probably won't break until Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Coming up tonight at 10, the latest model guidance will be in. I went over some of that, so if you missed it, you joined late, you can just go back and restart this Facebook Live. Again, this has been 48 Weather Extra. We do this every night, Monday through Friday at 9:30. Thanks for tuning in.